Hello and welcome to This Week in WCPW. I'm your host, Adam Wilborn, joined as always by two special guests to talk about what went on this week in WCPW and, of course, answer all your Twitter questions. I'm joined by Head of Talent Relations, James Dixon, and Director Sam Driver. Guys, before we get into Loaded and the fallout of that, I feel we should mention something which his retention of the title on Loaded may have not been ideal the way it happened, but Joe Hendry won a very prestigious thing just a few days ago, and I feel like we should mention it.
Segue. Go and get the little certificate.
I'll go and grab it, and you guys explain what I'm talking about.
Okay, so he won the Wrestler of the Year award.
Yeah,
from the British Wrestling Reunion, which is quite a prestigious thing. It's an award voted for by a group of peers.
Yeah.
There it is, in all its glory, Well, I think we're all very, very proud of the work Joe's done, and I hope that we've had, WCPW's had something to do with his recognition there, and I think he absolutely deserves it. I said the same thing on the Twitter machine, that he's the best heel in the country, and he works harder than pretty much anybody I know, not just in wrestling, just in life, and I think he deserves it. I'm really, really pleased from that. His peers have recognised that,
And it's, as you said, it's a great honour to get something like this, and the names that are associated with this, of course, are phenomenal. So to add Joe's name to that list is brilliant for him.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan won the award, and Cesaro won the award previously. Neither are obviously British, but there was still for their work in Britain.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan used to work a lot over here for like All Star Wrestling back in a long time ago now, and Cesaro as well when he was Claudio Castagnoli. Hey,
both used to just come and hang out at your house, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, my good pals.
Chilling
DB and Cesaro, yes. Yeah. But no, Joe absolutely deserves it. I think it's fantastic. Like, and surprising maybe for some people. The obvious choices are maybe Zach, Ospreay, Marty.
Yeah.
A lot of guys this year who you could have picked, but no, I think Joe should get it. I think he deserves it. Good on him.
It's one of those things, isn't it? I suppose that people would assume that this is given to someone who is a babyface, perhaps, because it's more straightforward to see crowd support for someone like that. But there's many times, I think it's very underappreciated what Joe does, because there's many times when someone is a heel and they get little to no reaction, whereas...
I'll do a million moves.
Yes.
Get cheered anyway. Yeah.
Whereas Joe has, ever since what happened to cause him to turn heel occurred, has really focused, and
he's just fully embraced it. Like I've not seen anything like it in a very long time. He's so involved. It's every little aspect of his, his character.
He's fully committed, and I think obviously he's upholding the integrity of the kayfabe of the business, the opposite of what we're doing now, or what we do here in general. But he is doing that, and that's been obviously for guys who've been around a long, long time. That's quite an important factor. And I'm sure that's played a part in why he's won that.
So, yeah, as we say, a massive congratulations to Joe for this award.
You're trying to figure out how to put it back down and then segue into the next.
Indeed. I'm just going to put it here. Yeah. I'm going to put it there for now. Now, let's talk about Loaded, a card with 3 fantastic title matches on there. Exciting to have something like that for only the second episode of the new Loaded, to bring that all together so fast.
Wasn't it technically 4 title matches? We'll discuss that later, I guess. Yeah, whether it was or it wasn't.
Yeah. But we started off with a match that will hopefully get even more people excited about the Pro Wrestling World Cup, because Angelico is someone that wrestling fans generally will know about, obviously because of his history in Lucha Underground and stuff like that. But going forward, I mentioned this recently, that his match at the Pro Wrestling World Cup is one I think people may have overlooked a little bit. We sort of discussed this a while ago on the Bracket Cast.
We did, yeah.
But Ricochet versus Angelico is right up there for me with Mysterio Ospreay.
We change every day, don't we? And the match we're looking forward to the most. Every time you think about it, you say, oh, well, it's definitely that one, and you dismiss all the others and then go, well, actually, those others have dismissed.
Like Bones Penta, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so I think all those matches are going to be amazing, but Angelico and Ricochet, absolutely, it could be the match of the night. Place your bets now, I suppose, as to what will be. But if those two are both flying around and doing what they can do, at the best of their abilities, and they're both at their peaks, it'll be off the charts.
And the first championship match we had on Loaded was, of course, something that was teased at the end of last week's show, Travis Banks versus Gabriel Kidd. And I wanted to talk about not necessarily the ins and outs of the match, but how Gabe has developed over the year or so that we've had him at WCPW, because obviously you guys have seen him grow the most from someone who infamously had this long-running losing streak.
Accidentally.
Yes. Yeah. But to turn that around, I think sometimes people assume that if you give someone a losing streak and then they win, it's almost like, well, that's easy now, they're going to be over. But I think sometimes they can be hampered by something like that. So to see him overcome it and now be this guy who not only has this great crowd support, but also has this wave of momentum behind him as well.
Does he?
I think so.
I think he has momentum based on what he's doing in the ring, but does he have crowd support?
I think Gabe seems to be a little bit cocky these days. He's getting sort of close victory after close victory after close victory, and
sure, I
don't know how long that's going to carry him. So even the momentum thing, I'm not.
He hasn't won decisively. Yeah, I mean he's winning cleanly, and he's beating big names, and real big challenges cleanly. But it's always bam, quick and 1, 2, 3. He hasn't dominated anybody.
No.
He's not that kind of wrestler. But at the same time, what I'm saying about the momentum is in the crowd support, there was definite boos when Gabe pinned Travis Banks.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Now, is that because Travis Banks, they haven't seen him for quite a while? It was his first match in probably 3 or 4 months, I guess, for us.
The entire world is in love with Travis Banks.
And, Travis Banks in those 3 or 4 months has done big things, and he's becoming a real star, nationwide, worldwide. Is it because they wanted Travis Banks to win and represent the company as the internet champion, or is it because they're tired of Gabe and his act because it's the underdog thing, and in 2017, does the underdog babyface really work quite so much? Which one is it? I don't know which one it is. I guess we'll see as things transpire, but I thought it was quite an interesting, especially live. I don't know if it picks up on the show as much, but live, there was definitely a little bit of rejection for Gabe. So that'll be interesting to see how he handles that.
I just think Gabe needs a very decisive win. I think he needs a very clean display of power. He's supposed to be a champion. He should be able to, bust something like that out. And I just don't know if he's had the right opponent or the right sort of position on the card or mindset to really take to that yet.
Maybe.
To your point, I suppose it will be interesting next week to see how the crowd react to him when he's announced or when he comes out alongside all the other people for the ladder match, which we will get to.
Yeah.
The next thing that happened on Loaded was, it wasn't really an announcement because we've already sort of mentioned it previously, but Stacked, which is, as we've mentioned previously, in a long line of shows that WCPW are going to be doing at the end of August, is the first one,
it's the first one
in Leeds. And just that list of names, because we'll have all these shows together, so you get just this mix of wrestlers who are going to be there. Some are going to be there for a few shows, some might be there for one show, some might be there for all 5.
Who knows? Depends how well they do. Yeah.
Exactly. But the mix that you've managed to pull together for that is so exciting because, I mean, we've talked about Ospreay and Mysterio, and we've talked about Ricochet and Angelico, and obviously everyone knows about Ricochet and Ospreay, but now Mysterio versus Ricochet is going to be at Stacked.
It's a fantasy match.
Exactly. That must be so exciting for you.
So, I mean, the whole point of this Stacked was, look, we're going to have all these guys here. Let's do something a bit special. Let's put on a fantasy card, Yes, there's storyline elements to some of it, and things that have been built up over a few weeks of Loaded. But a lot of them are going to be just sort of, he's an exhibition of great wrestling.
That's what
enjoy
was
yourself.
Last year.
Yeah, exactly. And we figured we could get away with it because, as Sam says, Stacked last year was that.
Yeah.
It was just, here's some great fantasy matches for you. I would say this year's is way above last year's in terms of the kind of matches that we're giving.
We don't have Eric Bischoff, though.
Oh, well.
I mean, can you give him a ring?
No. No, we've got Adam Blump here. Why do we need Eric Bischoff?
That's true.
Same thing anyway, innit? Essentially. I just want to go back to something you said, by the way. The Gabe reaction in the ladder match. I think the difference there is he's one of 6 in a match, trying to achieve something.
Okay.
Whereas when he's a singles guy, he's the champion. Is it the Roman Reigns effect,
Yeah.
Potentially. Are we pushing him too hard? Have we pushed him too fast? Was that big pop when he won the belt? Was that the climax for him? Or was that the start of him building to become a more credible, consistent performer in terms of, someone who can now win matches? I don't know which one it is yet.
For me, as someone who used to just be a fan of WCPW and now obviously works as part of it, I certainly wouldn't agree with the Roman Reigns argument, because I think...
Good. I hope not.
Yes. I think it's just... the difference is like you say, these wins he's getting, yes, they may well be over people who are incredibly popular, i.e. Travis Banks this week.
Or Zach. Zach.
Yeah, or Zach. Yeah. But I don't think, as you say, I think if he was dominating these people and they weren't getting really any offense in, and he was really being, like you say, pushed to the moon, it's a different thing. I think it's the right level for him at the moment in terms of holding the Internet Championship. I think if you put the title on him, put the WCPW, heavyweight championship as it would be on him, it's a very different thing there.
Maybe.
I think we've seen Gabe, though. Like, Gabe is just coming into his own.
No one's doubting his ability at all.
No, but he's just coming into his own as a character. Like,
right.
I mean, the very first shows, he had that polyphonic ringtone and those bright green trunks, and then he became Prince Amin's manservant, and then I think there wasn't a dry eye in the house when Amin and Gabe were finally equals.
It's one of the coolest thing we ever did. That hug between those guys, it was great.
Gabe's just got his own music. He's got a title. I think he's just feeling himself out for a while, and I think a big part of that rather is going to be finding out, how to manage the crowd, how to really get everybody on side.
Yeah. Sorry, we trampled all over your
That's okay.
further point there. But
other matches to mention in Stacked, it's not just about, as you say, there's so many dream matches there. You've got Kushida versus Banks, which is going to be amazing. Takahashi.
Unbelievable.
Mike Bailey against Takahashi.
That's just going to be kicks to the face.
I know. I mean, look, even working here and being heavily involved in putting this stuff together as a fan, I'm excited about that. I want to watch those guys. Hopefully, there'll be no drama and I can just watch it.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's wishful thinking.
Also, logistically, we've got to keep that canvas clean. My booking people are just going to batter each other the night before. It's got to stay clean for 5 days.
Yeah, white canvases are a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. I don't think people realise that we do change the canvas every show.
Yeah, I mean, we tried.
Which isn't common.
That first set of Academy shows where we cleaned, we hired a proper canvas washing piece of equipment.
It's like a carpet washing machine.
Yeah, but it was like a really high industrial carpet washer.
I remember you laying that thing out.
Laying the canvas out. I'm getting shoes and socks off, rolling my jeans all the way up, and then just standing there with this Hoover.
It's about 5 hours.
As it's dragging the canvas across the floor because nobody's holding the corners down.
Yeah. And you have to stop yourself going over the wire, soaking the wire a couple of times.
Or catching your feet because it had those weird...
And it looked the same afterwards. It's just as filthy.
The muck was in lines rather than...
Yeah. It is fun to spot on certain canvases. There was a mist from one of the matches from
when Bushi misted senior official Steve Linsky.
Yeah.
Got to say his full name.
Senior official Steve
Linsky. Sean McLaughlin will have something to say about that. But yeah, when Bushi misted him, and then obviously it appeared in Loaded for no reason. Yeah.
Well, it's because we taped it on the same day, everybody. That's why it turned up on Loaded.
So breaking it all down.
It's not a secret for the few hundred people who were there. So.
Yeah. One final thing I wanted to mention. The fact that Stacked, you can say, also featuring Will Ospreay, Marty Scurll, Joe Hendry, Jay Lethal and War Machine is incredible. But also, the Briscoes are going to make their WCPW debut at Stacked.
Against War Machine.
So many great names brought in for this. It's not just, as you say, it's not just using the people who are around because of the World Cup.
No, it's also using people who are around because Ring of Honor are here the week before. So, we have a good relationship with Ring of Honor, and we've done some things with them in the past, whether we've shared talent, we've worked together, things like that. It made a lot of sense to the Briscoes are around, let's bring them in, let's put them on with War Machine, you're going to get an incredible match. War Machine won the tag belts, why can't the Briscoes win the tag belts? Imagine if they do, and then where do you go from there? We'll see. But yeah, I think it's something special, something different, team we've never used before, someone that we've wanted to use them for a while, so it should be great.
Next up on Loaded, we had the Hardcore title, which is being defended apparently in 24/7.
Who knew?
Yeah,
a lot of tweets about this.
I remember asking this when the belt was first discussed, and it was like.
So I think
that was the noise.
I think this may be I'm almost certainly speaking out of line here.
Always good when you start a sentence.
Here we go.
Okay.
You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your job.
Good luck. Right. So when we tape these things, they're not necessarily... I'm not going to give it all away. I'm not going to expose the curtain too much.
Okay.
Too much. When we shoot these things, they're not necessarily shot in order that we show them.
Mm-hmm.
Primate and BT Gun being one of those things, which may or may not have been shot several weeks before the rest of Loaded was shot.
Mm-hmm.
It was shot at the same time as the show was going on, though.
Yes, sort of. No, it was shot during Japan.
Yeah, but it was during the show.
Yeah, it was shot during the show.
So it was shot during a show.
It was shot during a show in the same venue as the Loaded we've just done.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Mm-hmm. But not at the same time. So then when you're doing the commentator links, it's not necessarily going to match up to what you've shot because things get changed around.
Yeah.
So there was no real intro to go into that match. It was just sort of... I mean, there was an intro, but it wasn't
Yeah, well, this is
ideal.
where the crowd start chanting awkward silence and wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
It's because if you look over when you're at one of our live events and you see... the ring announcers in the ring,
Just
referees
stood there
in the ring,
looking
just
dumb.
stood there
Yeah.
looking, doing nothing, waiting for ringside. It's because commentaries usually throw into, a backstage segment or a VT or an advert or tail of the tape. If you come to the World Cup shows, so much tail of the tape.
Yeah, right. And, the thing is, we didn't really know exactly where that was going or how it was going out or whether it was a match. And bear in mind that the commentators, nor us at that point, had seen this match to know how it starts and how it finishes with him with the belt and all that kind of thing. So, sometimes we make mistakes. This was a small one, I would say. I'm quite behind the idea of the 24/7 rule for the hardcore belt. I think it's great fun.
We've got a YouTube channel.
Right, look. Something we get accused of a lot, sometimes rightly, is ripping off WWE. And I think we've done a Rumble. We now have a briefcase.
Yeah.
Okay? We do copy some of their tropes, maybe too
TNA
much.
exists. I don't know how we can get
Look,
all this.
New Japan have a briefcase. We're okay. We can get away with it. There's other Rumbles. But what I'm saying is to copy another thing, maybe not the best idea, but at the same time, it is really good. And they haven't done it in a long time. So
It's one of my favourite things, and I like some of our fondest funny memories from childhood were the hardcore belt.
Crash Holly, right?
Crash Holly. Al Snow throwing himself through a table to win the belt off himself, and it counts as an official reign. Is
Quite right. Quite right.
Like that sort of stuff was always like a nice little respite from some of the.
Well, we had a lot of
ridiculous
fun with the
storylines.
DDT Iron Man heavy metalweight title, in Orlando with Jack the Jobber. The worst booking decision we ever made to give him a belt because his
does not shut
ego.
up about it.
He's mentioned it to me
Has he?
about 3 times in the last
You should
week.
see him on
One-
Saturday night. It's just like I'm too tired, just leaning.
He's got a
in, talking.
tattoo.
Girls in Rise, yeah.
Um,
What, of the belt? Just a little.
Yeah.
yeah,
The last thing his ego needed with the title ring. Never mind two.
I
so-
don't think we would ever say, we're gonna let a bin win it, or a taxi driver.
No,
or
maybe not.
Or a bus.
Or
But
a ladder.
Or Reddit.
I think, or Reddit, yeah. Or the entire crowd.
I like that. It's
was
good
it
though.
The entire crowd at like a WrestleFest won it.
You can lose it in a dream, can't you? If I
Yes,
remember
that's
yes.
happened.
Yeah.
That's fun though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Like
it's interesting.
it's what makes DDT its own thing. That and lots of fireworks and people nearly dying. But
Sure. Not the best week for that comment,
no,
given Taki.
no. But yeah, I just think that if people are going to sort of crap all over the fact that it's going to be 24/7,
Look,
It's
it's
fun.
wrestling.
It's
It's
fun.
fun. Who cares? Are you entertained by it? If you are, shut up and enjoy it. If you're
Yeah.
not, then fine. Watch it. Watch the great 5-star match we put on with Will Ospreay and whoever, or
Exactly.
Marty or Zach or whoever we've got in that week that
Yeah.
happens to be one of the best of all time in the world.
I for
it's like,
one like tables and chairs and ECW, and I like that we've got a hardcore belt. So if you don't like
Me
it,
too.
just tune out for 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
But I will say we probably didn't lead into the fact that it's probably maybe we think 24/7 now very
Yeah.
well. I don't think we did.
Yeah, that was just one.
No,
Of the,
yeah.
That was Ross Chaplin. Was that just? Oh no, sorry. That was a question from the WCPW review guy about the 24/7 rules.
Oh,
Who-
that is Dan Richardson.
It is. I mean, that's a
a
good
fella you
name.
know, isn't
yeah, I
it?
do know him pretty well. Yeah, he's good question, Dan. I don't know what to tell you. We made a slight boo-boo, but we will probably rectify it or ignore it and just move on.
And as a fan, you talk about the old how fast the belt can change hands and the history of that sort of thing. I'd still like to see someone who can sneak attack Primate and still get the three.
Like Jack the Jobber.
Yeah. Oh,
they've got a little history, is all I'm saying. Jack the Jobber, when he won the DDTA and heavy metalweight belt. God, what a stupid name.
I'd like to see
it was in the Primate match.
I'd like to see Drake enter the hardcore division.
Big push for Drake this week.
Yeah,
against Angelico as well. I know we've mentioned it, but I think we sort of glossed over that bit. I mean, Drake, good on him. You know, there's been a lot of sort of online support for him going, push Drake, and we've ignored it until sort of now, I guess. And so he did lose, but he's now in that ladder match, you know, for the briefcase. He might be the briefcase holder this time next week.
Possibly.
Next up on Loaded, we had what for me was match of the night. It usually is if it involves War Machine. War Machine against Kings of the North for the WCPW Tag Team Championships. I know we've spoken about the athletic ability of Rowan Hansen before, but it bears repeating. Every week I see it, and there was a moment during the match against Kings of the North where they both bounced off the ropes to do. I think they were going to attempt some sort of suicide dive. How worried were you that the ring was going to...
So, I wasn't supposed to be on ringside camera that night, but right. Chelsea had fallen a bit ill, and
That's not the football team, that's the camera girl.
Yeah, our camera operator, Chelsea. She radioed over, and she's like, is there any chance you can switch out? So I took the Loaded matches, and it literally, if you watch back, you'll see me and Phil, or Hobo Joe, since we're breaking kayfabe, it's Phil. If you look back and you see either of us in that shot, as soon as they hit the ropes for those handsprings, it's just we just turn and hold the camera as best you can, because you can hear the ropes, you can hear them
creak and cry.
Yeah, and I'm convinced at one point they're just going to go. So that's both of us just like that.
I mean, this was the same show that we had Keith Lee on, you know, in terms of when we taped it. And Keith Lee, the ropes cried when he bounced off them, and he's just one guy. You know, and
second rope moonsault.
I know. And then, you know, we've already had that incident with Ricochet and Ospreay. Now, don't make no mistake, the ropes have been significantly reinforced, changed, improved. So that what happened in that match could never happen with these again.
But they could snap.
Because the ropes can snap because they're made of rope.
Well, I don't know if a lot of people know how wrestling ropes are actually constructed before they're taped. Whether you've got so basically wrestling rope loops over, and then you've got a ring, and at any point if it becomes too much,
so the two pieces of the rope cross over like this, you get a ring like kind of like you'd have on any plumbers out there. I can't remember what the name of them is.
Yeah, it's sort of like a really heavy duty cable tie that's sort of screwed in place, and then
then you tape it over.
Yeah, but at any point the tension is all going to be sitting on that. So if they hit the wrong corners or they put too much weight on it, then.
So I mean that's why it happens. You know, it's not just indies. It's happened in WWE before. You know, it's happened all over the world several times. So there's every show that anybody ever runs in the world. There's always a chance the ropes could go. Always a chance. It's one of the risks. You know. So when you're seeing big guys hitting them, it's just like, oh man. Especially when you've got another 3 or 4 matches to shoot afterwards as well. So but no, it was fine. But yes, we were all.
Just seeing the ring crew having to come down, tighten up the ropes again after every.
That's usually, it's just one of those things where like I'll be stood there in Gorilla and see them hit the ropes, and one of the ring crew will just come over and just be like, "Let me go out and tighten them afterwards." I just think, I think you're probably gonna have to.
It was the double whammy in that match of not only, as you said, triple, I suppose, is the cameramen scattering. When they go to hit the ropes themselves, and how much the give that there is, and then also. The crowd who were on the near side, who think a dive's coming, who just pretty much left the arena at that point, just to be safe.
Left. I don't blame them.
No.
I don't blame them. Do you really think that was the match of the night?
For me, yes.
Yeah. Why did you think it was better than the main event? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just asking.
I assumed after about the first 5 minutes of that, I thought this is only going to go one way, and I was writing when I was writing about it for Reloaded. I was writing. Is there any way you can stop War Machine? You know, we've seen Granted, they were very limited with what happened with Scotty. We've seen the sort of high flyers go against them, and Kings of the North are very hard hitting themselves. And they, for the first 5-10 minutes, got absolutely demolished. But it won me over because there was a point where I genuinely thought maybe Kings of the North have a chance by isolating one of War Machine.
Right.
But I really enjoyed it, and I think I just love watching War Machine.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, it was really good.
It's definitely, I think, for me as well, match that. I think mainly though it was we've seen Kings of the North before. We had them at Fight Back, was it? Yep. And I think I was ringside. No, I wasn't. I was live cutting that night. But it was just one thing to see them there, but up against War Machine, just two guys that don't look like they should be as athletic as they are. They really held their own. Like I was really impressed by Kings of the North.
Kings of the North's really good. Yeah, really good. I mean, the big stars in Ireland, and they're on that level with these guys that come in, and they've worked with each other before, War Machine and Kings of the North, and always have really good matches. It's one of the reasons we decided we'd put it on, because we've seen these great matches. And like, you know what, that seems like as good a challenger as any, if these guys have a history. So we probably should have played that up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, hey.
And then, of course, we had the match for the WCPW title, Joe Hendry versus Marty Skrull, after Marty won the #1 contenders match last week on Loaded. Very much a back-and-forth match, this.
It was match of the night for me.
Okay.
I thought, but yeah, well, let's just skip ahead. Let's talk about the finish. Because that's what.
Yeah. There was some great near falls in there, obviously with the low blow, and then followed by the freak of nature. I think a lot of people maybe assumed that was going to be Joe sort of backdooring his way into retention of the title.
It's key to a good near fall, isn't it?
Exactly.
When people absolutely think that that's the finish, and then bam, it's the near fall. I mean, obviously the problem with that is it can go too far, and it'd be like 10 tombstones, 1 count. It's like, no, you've got it backwards here, but I think that was perfect.
How Jim Cornette views most
all indie wrestling. Yeah, no.
Throw myself off a roof. Kick out of one.
What did you guys think of the finish?
It's probably the most contentious finish we've had in a long time in terms of the fan reaction.
Is that bad?
No.
I think if you don't do it regularly, then that's fine. I think
wrestling is built on, building a feud. I think that, especially after, can we talk about the dark segment?
I don't even know what happened in the dark segment.
When Marty gave a speech to the crowd.
Yeah, did we show that?
No, we didn't show it.
We haven't shown it anywhere?
Okay. It might come to air, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, go for it though.
So Marty gave a speech to the crowd afterwards, who were very much on his side. Obviously, Marty is the hottest thing in wrestling right now.
Pretty much.
And the crowd were very, very hot at that finish, like really, really hot. And Marty somehow somehow calmed them all down, got them all on side. And you can tell every single person in that room wants to see that match again.
Of course they do.
Absolutely.
And that's what wrestling's built on.
Of course it is. Like, what is the problem with heat? What is the problem with getting heat? Like, okay, people want to see a finish, but let's remember, this is a TV show. None of you people watch Raw. Like, you look if you get 1 in 3 as a finish,
Exactly.
We rarely do. Okay, we have this stigma of doing these dodgy finishes because on the very first episode, which bear in mind is over a year ago, the first match accidentally ended with a DQ. Now, it wasn't supposed to be the first match, but watch that 10 things you never knew about WCPW thing if you want to know more.
The internet tells me that every single match in WCPW ends with a ref bump and a chair shot, and King Ross and Simon Miller are still doing commentary in front of a green screen.
Indeed.
And all their promos, instead of being in front of a real brick wall, are in front of a fake brick wall.
Look, I can't defend some of the decisions we made in those early shows. We got things wrong.
You look back now, I can't wait for us to do the director's commentaries. I can't wait.
Be some burying there. But you look at it now, and we rarely do that. And we do try and deliver finishes, but Joe's a heel who escaped a match that he was overmatched in. He was going to lose.
Yes.
He realized he was going to lose by cheating. The heel that he was wrestling, because Marty's character is a heel.
He's an anti-hero.
He is, but at the same time, he's not he's not the kind of guy who's gonna not cheat to take an advantage.
Yeah, he's a villain. Yeah.
You know, because he's a villain. So they both had the same idea. They deck each other. The referee wakes up, makes the call. Okay, is it cheap or is it step one in the bigger picture?
Exactly. Like I say, I think it's all right if it's not the same or repeated regularly, you know, an often finish of loaded or whatever to build towards a pay-per-view like you would get sometimes with a Raw or a SmackDown or whatever. And also I recorded an interview with Joe, which is on Extra now, immediately after that match, and it just works so well into it. If it had just been him low-blowing him, freak of nature for the pin, that's one way.
We've seen that.
Exactly.
We've seen it for the last couple of months.
So now having him in this interview where he's talking about, you know, the future of the Prestige and blah blah blah, but also his twisted perspective of, well, you have to do more. You have to beat me to take the title off me. All I have to do is retain the title. Before the start of the match, he said, I always find a way to win. And after the match, in my interview with him, he said, look, I came close when I was, you know, battling in the early months of WCPW. Mm-hmm. Now I hold the title, and you have to take it off me.
That's the thing. Winning for him is retaining his belt.
Exactly.
It's not. He doesn't need to get a win.
He
doesn't need to get a pin
to that belt. Even though he had chance after chance handed to him, he's always had it taken away from him.
Yeah. So logically, storyline-wise, why would he be giving up that belt so quickly? You know, no, he's gonna cheat. I think it makes sense. I mean, yes, granted, we are justifying our own booking here.
Yeah.
But that is the justification. Take it or leave it, I guess.
So I always, you know, punt for questions for This Week in WCPW, and not a single person said, you know, tell me why we had that finish on Loaded. I think, as you say, it's not something that is a regular occurrence in WCPW, and you can't tell me that the fallout from that match and, of course, the ladder match, which we'll get to now, will not get people excited about watching it next week. If that would have been done and dusted, what's next for Joe Hendry?
It's one of the things Cornette has talked about at length, especially when we're on the road with him. He was always going on about when he took us to the Gardens. The way that you used to book was you would basically have really, really hot babyface, and you just have heels go over and over and over and over until the public couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
And then they would pay and they would come back to see you, to see the babyface kick the heel's ass. Mm-hmm. And then it was just rinse and repeat. But wrestling's got more complicated. That formula's always sort of stayed there, but it's evolving over time. And I think you're very right in the way that people aren't looking at it like step one of a wider picture.
Especially in Loaded. It's a TV show.
Exactly.
Yeah, just remember that.
Now, this week, I should say, on WCPW, we have, of course, as I said, the ladder match for the Magnificent Seven briefcase. I'm not going to ask you guys to predict who you think is going to win. That would be silly.
Ooh, who is it?
We have El Ligero, Jay Lethal, Gabriel Kidd, Drake, Rampage, and Primate. A great mix of characters in there. I think
it's great about that mix. Every one of those was on here from day one, including Lethal. You know, and I like that. You know, it feels like we're using our guys.
Yeah,
you know,
we have a talent
people who are
pool.
associated with us. From,
exactly.
You know, they're very much for all their work all over the country every weekend. They're very much WCPW guys in the eyes of the audience who watches the show, and I think that's great. But Lethal aside, obviously, but he was still there at the start.
Yes,
been on a few, and it's, you know, there's a lot of nice callbacks to storylines within that match itself as well. You know, a couple of feuds from previously where, you know, they're going to meet again. What'll happen when Primate and Rampage come head to head, for example, if they come head to head. You know, they had that Best of 7 series a couple of months back. You know, will they be friends now? Because, you know, Primate's a babyface. You know, will they work together? Will they still have issues? That kind of thing. So there's a lot of intricately weaved storylines within that match, as well as all the, you know, stunts, bumps, and violence.
James, one thing I wanted to ask you, obviously the fans will be very excited about a ladder match. What's the view in terms of when you organise something like that? Because it's obviously it's a very exciting match. It's a rare-ish occurrence, but it's a risky move to put all those people in, because it's not something you can just be like, well, this will be nice and safe.
You can try and be as safe as possible in a ladder match, but there's always that possibility the ladder's gonna fall over. It's unpredictable. You know, the ladder itself is an unpredictable object. You know, it could get knocked and fall on you. You could fall off at the wrong angle.
And woe betide you if you touch the ceiling at Northumbria University.
Well, I mean, yeah. The ladder match, I'm sure we'll probably talk about this in a future podcast, but, it came this close to not happening at all due to various red tape issues, shall we say.
Yes, logistics.
Logistics are always a favourite thing of ours. But it goes ahead, but no, it's a tough one to put together because the guys, obviously there's a risk involved for them, but at the same time a ladder match has so much sort of behind it with the Shawn and Razor matches, with the Benoit and Jericho match at the Rumble, with all the TLC matches, and there's so many others, Hardy's and the Bucks, Ring of Honor this year before Mania. There's all these great ladder matches, this big back catalogue of all these superb things you can draw from. So there's a lot of pressure to live up to the standard that's being set there, I think. So even if you want to go in there and be safe, you also want to impress and show what you can do and wow people. Because the Michaels Bret Hart ladder match, the first one WWF did in '92, like that match was really, really good for the time. And it's still good now, but it's a very different kind of match. It's all about, it's like the Bret and Owen cage match. It's all about the drama of the climb and, the drama and the psychology of the climb. Whereas now, everyone wants to see a million things. And if you don't do that, then you're not delivering what people expect anymore.
The thing is, as well, from a booking standpoint, you're not just furthering one story. You're furthering every single person involved in that match.
Yeah.
And
you tried.
Well, you try to, yeah. And you've got to really work out, are these the right people for it? Like, story-wise, is this the right thing to do? Is whoever wins it going to be able to carry that as far as we need them to for whatever reason? It's not quite as cut and dry as a one-on-one ladder match.
Sure.
And one thing I want to ask you, Sam, was a tweet I got from Ross Chaplin, which is, what are the challenges, or what were the challenges of shooting ladder matches?
Right. Ross... Ross Chaplin, thank you very much for your question. In terms of ladder matches, you have there's one 15-foot and two 10-feet ladders, right?
Is it 15?
Is it 15? I think it is.
Might be 8 and 12.
Is it? Yeah, 2 8 and one 12-foot ladder. And at any point, they can fall on you. At any point, because usually, just to sort of give a little bit more insight into shooting wrestling and from like a live cutting point of view, we may know what's going to happen in a match to a degree. We might be told, look out for this, look out for that, but that's about it. The way to get the best reaction out of commentary, like I know a lot of commentators don't like to know certain things about the match, so they react more genuinely. I wish that we could have every single thing in writing about a wrestling match, have it all there on paper, know exactly what's going to happen.
Even if you did, people wouldn't stick to it.
But that's it, yeah, it wouldn't. Nobody would stick to it. So
let me just stop you a sec there, because the local hero, the former local hero, now the prestigious one,
yes,
he stood outside the door glaring at you,
he's now
wanting this back. So I think you should take that back to him before he kills you and makes you into one of his Instagram videos. And we shall carry on the discussion about the ladder match.
You carry on talking about that, and I'll try and persuade Joe Hendry not to kill me.
All right.
Yeah, I'd run if I were you, Wilborn. New Adam, soon to be dead Adam.
Yes. There's another new.
So let's talk about whatever we want.
Yeah.
Now Dad's gone. No.
But yeah, like from a ladder match perspective, even if we had it, from any match, if you had it all there, like beat by beat, it wouldn't be the same. So we just sort of know that certain things might happen. We know we need to avoid certain ends of the ring. We know that if there's a situation, I mean, it's usually you just on a headset going move.
Right.
But
because I don't think people maybe know it works. Like I'm in a headset, so I'll have an idea of what's going on in some of the matches, and be telling you, right, look out for this, look out for this.
It's weird, like we're not really a huge WWE style production.
Not really.
Where there's there's
not really at all.
There's a road agent for each match, and there's all like you might know one or two things are going to happen. So if I'm live cutting or if I'm on camera, it gets passed to me. It gets passed to talk back for commentary.
She's back. It'll probably be fine. We haven't said anything.
Yeah.
It's fine. He wasn't there.
But in terms of ladder matches, you've got to watch people dive in. You've got to watch for all sorts of stuff. And live cutting them is even harder because my job is essentially just to sit there and cut between cameras, but at the same time, I've got to tell the cameras what I need shot-wise.
Yeah.
So say I have a hard camera that's fixed. I have a roving hard camera that moves, that's nice and close on the ring. I have a camera at each side of the ring. One camera on each side.
So you're basically looking at four cameras at once at any point, one point,
five,
aren't you?
and then I've got to literally say, Phil, can you just push in? Phil, can you get around, do that? Chelsea, can you get a commentary? Whoever's on whatever camera I need to be talking to them constantly. So I'm listening to you, I'm listening to commentary, and talking to the headset through the headset to the camera guys, and then we're having it's this weird wide open feedback loop.
Sure, and at the same time, you're also trying to plan ahead for the next things to not miss them. I guess,
and then you've got guys that are just going wild and throwing themselves off ladders 2 feet from your cameras.
So what happens?
Yeah, you just sort of learn to. You learn to roll with it, and I think the guys are very respectful. I don't think we've ever had an incident where the guys have went off on camera people.
No.
I
mean, we wouldn't tolerate that anyway.
The guys know that the cameras are there to play up to. The camera guys know they know to keep their space. They know how to do everything. So it just works like a really well-oiled machine, even though it should fall apart at every single turn.
It's fairly oiled most of the time.
Yeah, fairly oiled.
The wheel obviously falls off now and again, but we work around it.
Yeah.
Well worth watching out for on this week's Loaded, certainly.
Yes, it is, yeah.
We can move on now to the fan Twitter questions that I asked for earlier on. If you want to send me any of them, hashtag this week in WCPW. Jack Hawes has tweeted saying...
Jack Hawes?
He has tweeted saying specifically from the British...
Fortunate name,
doesn't
buddy.
start with a W. You're all right.
Specifically from the British wrestling scene, what wrestlers would you like to see grace WCPW?
Kid Like Us.
Yes.
Chris Brooks.
Yeah.
I think I said the same thing on Twitter, actually. Without a doubt. They are the hot tag team at the moment, in the British scene. Not just in the British scene, they won the CZW tag titles as well, I believe. Yeah. They're great. I don't really know why we haven't brought them in yet. I can't quite comprehend the reasoning behind that. It's just, I guess, the timing's never just quite been right in terms of either their availability or our needs. We had the tag belts on Ospreay and Scotty for a while, and Ospreay was in Japan and wasn't on quite a few of the shows, so the tag division kind of disappeared a little bit, and Mossy was injured.
Yeah, it sort of stagnated.
And then, so I guess we hadn't really focused on the tag division quite as much. But no, I'd absolutely love to see those guys.
My next question was going to be from Dan Knowles. Any plans to bring Chris Brooks and Kid Like Us to WCPW?
Yes.
That's been fairly covered there, I think.
Dan said he'll bring him in next week. If not, tweet him.
Chris tweeted saying, will WCPW be coming to America again? We obviously mentioned, I think, last week about more of a British tour, but we had history in America last
I think if these 5 days go well, there's no stopping.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of financial implications to going to America because you've got to take the crew. If it's a WCPW show, you've got to take over the English talent as well.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention the equipment. That was
the equipment, which is
the logistics
hefty...
of shifting that equipment and the costs.
Yeah,
I mean that screen is what with the.
Well, we didn't take that last time.
No, but
we need to.
Say we wanted to run the exact same production values. You're looking at. I mean, they'd have to be shipped out weeks beforehand.
Yeah,
we'd be able.
And then
to
we couldn't use them over here and
yeah.
things. I mean, the problem is when we went over to Florida, for WrestleMania weekend, we were hiring in the entranceway, the ring, the barriers, the sound, the lighting. Anyone who's seen that show will know that all of those things were substandard in terms of what you'd expect from a WCPW show. And the thing is, you have no way of knowing exactly what you're getting until you get there. Mm-hmm. And at that point, what can you do?
My favourite thing I've just remembered about that Orlando show was they had an amp, like a large monitor, stage monitor, and it could go quite loud for the music. It would easily go loud enough, to cover that crowd. But the venue said, and I quote, "You can't turn the music up that loud because there's a yoga class going on the other side of the divider." It was like a mother and baby yoga class. And she was, the woman from the venue was like, "No, you can't do it." It's like, well, we got, 300, 400 screaming fans? Like, you can't.
It's more in the end.
Yeah, like, it's going to be louder than that anyway. So, well, no, you can't have the music that high. And then she came up halfway through the show. She was like, you can turn it up a bit.
Yeah, thanks. But then the mics didn't work.
Yeah, the mics didn't work.
And then the barriers sort of went around the ring, but didn't quite reach the entranceway. The entranceway itself was just
there were no power
curtain
outlets that we required. There was
no. It was, and that's the challenges you face when you go anywhere. I mean, we were lucky when we went to Germany, when we went to Canada, that we worked with GWF and Smash, and their production is great. So accommodating, their technical crew are fantastic. We could basically rely on them to do everything for us. In that regard, we just took the cameras. And if we went to America again, personally, I think the only way of doing it would be to do it with another American company and work together.
I'd love to run a versus show with either Smash or GWF, with great venues that we ran in. GWF's venue was just unbelievable.
In Berlin.
Yeah.
I thought Smash's was great as well.
Smash's was just like
Toronto.
a really nice,
it's just
cool little place.
Yeah, it was like an O2 Academy, but in Canada. It was good.
Yeah. And they had that cool balcony where Gorilla was. Gorilla wasn't like behind the curtain.
That's right. You
nice.
could actually watch.
Yeah.
You actually see the show.
And one final Twitter question I need to ask from Alex Wild says, who will be the next WCPW champion?
Prince Amin.
Prince Amin.
I think Jack's got a good innings. He's a 2-time DDT.
He is that
middleweight champion.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're talking logically, who's the next person to challenge? Henry, I guess, is the real question there. And Henry, everyone he's faced has somehow been screwed out of, a proper match with him. You would think it's whoever has the briefcase, which
could,
we'll see unloaded, I guess.
Yeah.
Whoever has the briefcase has a good chance. We all know how the briefcase works. That does give you an opportunity. You would think logically that would be the next champion. Maybe. But, I mean, who knows? Henry might hold it for a year.
I'd like to see it go back on Kirby. I would really like to see Martin Kirby come back and work his way through everybody on the way back to Hendry. I think that would be Nelly swore that. That would be a great, like a great conclusion to Martin Kirby's story.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see Kirby as champion too.
If Jack wins, it'd be the David Arquette.
It's the day I leave.
If Jack wins, we riot.
we'll all walk out. I think the audience, the staff, stood down an empty ring on his own.
Yeah.
And one question I wanted to ask you guys about, which is completely unrelated to WCPW.
Oh, good. It went so well last week.
Yes.
Is that why? Yeah.
This one I feel like I may get. Well, I'll get an equal response, but maybe a little bit more back and forth. Is the issue that again developed over the weekend between Baron Corbin and Dave Meltzer? For those of you who don't know, Dave Meltzer basically tweeted or was talking about Baron Corbin, saying he's not world championship material yet. He could be in future if his in-ring abilities improved, and his position at the moment is perhaps due to WWE's fetish with tall guys. Corbin's response was to say it is easy to comment when you haven't competed in a ring. James Dixon, your thoughts first of all.
He blocked Dave after that, though. He did the old, you've never taken a bump.
That is the lamest argument. As someone who has taken many a bump, to say that someone who hasn't can't criticise it is the lamest argument of all time. Every movie critic who's never been in a movie has no right to comment on movies based on that logic. Every person who votes for a politician, for the president, for the prime minister, whatever it might be, has no right to comment on the job they're doing because they've never served in office. Ridiculous notion. It's ridiculous. If entertainment is being served up, you have the right as a paying customer to criticise it. Baron Corbin has done nothing in this business.
He's got a cool finisher.
No, he hasn't.
He does.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
Guys take it well for him. Baron Corbin has done nothing in this business at all. He's an entitled little prick who's come through football, thinks he's better than everybody, gets a push to the top because he's tall, not because he's talented. What dues has he paid? Oh, he's in the Performance Centre, a luxury multi-million-pound facility, absolutely state-of-the-art. How many times has he wrestled in Memphis? How many raw potatoes has he eaten because he can't afford anything else to eat? How many bad rings has he had to wrestle in and bump in? Rings that feel like concrete. How many rings has he built? Okay, he might have built a few in the Performance Centre, but they're quite nice, aren't they? And there's a team, and there's a system. How many rings has he lugged around on his own? How many hours has he drove to do independent shows in the middle of nowhere? He hasn't done any of these things. He's an entitled piece of shit. And Dave Meltzer has done more for this business than most most people who've ever lived have.
I think I completely agree with you. First of all, I think had it been
good job, Sam. So you've really.
Every week I do this now.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to be my little end point of each this week in WCPW.
I don't think we're at the end yet.
No, but I think if it had been, say, me tweeting Baron, or somehow heard someone here at What Culture talking about him on a Raw recap or SmackDown synopsis or whatever, it's
me,
Baron.
Let's go.
It's fine.
Let's do it.
It's fine, perhaps, for him to say you're not in a position to comment. I think most people are.
Are you a paying customer?
Exactly. I think I can say if I think that a film's not great. I can say if I think a gig that I went to is not great. It's the exact same application here. All right, it's all well and good saying for me, oh, well, you've never taken a bump or anything like that, which is true, absolutely. And I still think that you should still be allowed to comment. But to go at someone like Dave Meltzer, who is the measuring stick for everyone in the business, he never has an opinion of someone that people go, I don't know where that's come from. He always supports it with...
It's objective.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're an entertainer, if you're a wrestler, however you want to describe it, you're putting yourself on a pedestal, on a stage, a position to be critiqued.
Exactly.
And all Dave Meltzer did was compare the difference between Jinder Mahal as WWE champion and Baron Corbin as WWE champion, pointing out that in terms of age, Mahal's a little bit younger. Okay, Corbin's slightly taller, I guess, and WWE has a thing for tall guys. They always have. That's no secret, Big Cass is being pushed for the exact same reason. Diesel was the WWE champion, in 1994, 95, for the same reason, because they couldn't use the steroid guys anymore, so they used the tall guy. Before that, they'd use the fat guy. That's what they used to do. And Vince will always, revert to type and go, big is better. That guy's going to tower over people in an airport. Go with him. And that's why Corbin's pushed. His promos are weak. They are. He has the same delivery, the same stilted monotone, and he's talking shit every single time. I realize you have to edit this, but you shouldn't have asked it. So all he's actually done, he's been very fair in saying, why would they make the decision to go from Mahal, who they're putting in that position because they're trying to break into India and they haven't actually achieved that yet. So why would you throw that away, this experiment, and go with Corbin, who's untested but also has less of an upside in terms of what he can offer you as a company? It doesn't make any sense at all. And that's all Meltzer had said. And then Corbin's got the wrong end of the stick. And I know there'll be people out there who are going, oh, he's a heel, he's playing one on Twitter. No. Watch Breaking Ground. Watch the way he comes across in that. Mm-hmm. That is not an act. He's not good enough. Because if he was good enough to act like that, he'd be better as a performer.
Kevin Owens, for example.
Right, exactly. Kevin Owens, perfect example.
The thing for me is, me, I'm a miserable bastard.
No.
And if I won the lottery, it would still be too cold outside.
Cold in this room.
Yeah. And, for somebody to tell me that I can't criticize them, when they are a performer on that set stage, I can't criticize their work. I was trained in criticism. I'm from a film studies background. At the same time, I do think Baron Corbin, if he goes away and works on his promos, gets a bit better, I think he can be pushed to be a half credible.
No one's saying he can't be. But we're saying not now.
Yeah, not now. And I think you've just got to pick your battles. Don't go after Meltzer. Go after anybody, not Meltzer.
Okay, look. Meltzer is a newsletter writer, a dirt sheet writer, so that's immediately going to cause him to be criticized by the Eric Bischoffs and Vince Russos of the world who don't give him any credibility. But Dave Meltzer has been writing about and watching wrestling for 35, 40 years. He has seen everything. Mm-hmm. Not just WWE, everything. Why would you think that man has no credibility? He's responsible for breaking several stories, producing the real versions of events. The WWE in the 90s hired him specifically to stop him breaking these stories because everything he was saying was true. They put him on the payroll and started feeding information to him because they realized he was getting to a big audience. And Meltzer is the authority on wrestling these days. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. Whether you like him or don't, there was a famous writer, I can't remember who it was, who once said, who had nothing to do with wrestling, who said Dave Meltzer should be awarded the Pulitzer Prize for what he's done for wrestling journalism. And he wasn't a wrestling fan. He just said because of the... And he'll never receive one because he writes about wrestling. But the amount of work he's done, the fact he produces a 30,000 word newsletter every week covering the worldwide scene. He's been responsible for the exposure of a lot of guys. And believe me, the boys care what Meltzer thinks. Whether WWE think they don't, they absolutely do. Who do you think feeds Meltzer? Why do you think they feed him? Because they think it curries favour in terms of how he writes about them. Now, I don't believe that is the case with Dave. He is absolutely objective. He once had the choice between writing a story relating to the Iraq War, I believe it was, or the steroid scandal, I can't remember which, or keeping his WWE payroll job, and he wrote the story because his integrity as a journalist was more important to him than money. That man deserves all the respect in the world for what he's done for this industry. Baron Corbin is a disrespectful, entitled piece of shit.
I thought I'd get a reaction for that. It's 2 in 2 weeks, that.
Answers on a postcard.
James, thank you very much, as always. Sam,
thank
you very much. This has been This Week in WCPW. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.